Hallelujah. Hallelujah. Giving. Hallelujah. Giving the highest praise. Hallelujah. Giving the highest praise. Hallelujah. Giving the highest praise. In the morning when I wake up, in the night when I wake up, I will lift up my voice to heaven and give you the highest praise. Hallelujah to my King. Hallelujah to my Father. Hallelujah to my Jesus. I bow before the throne. When I look at all the wonder and I see all the creation, the beauty of the universe, you never change. You never lie. You never change. You never change. Hallelujah to my Jesus. Hallelujah. 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 Giving. Hallelujah. Giving the highest praise. Hallelujah. Giving the highest praise. Hallelujah. Giving the highest praise.
Hey, come let's pray, Jehovah. Come let's worship Jehovah. He deserves the praise. Come let's praise Him. He deserves everything. Oh, the worshiping. Oh, He gave me life. I will praise His name. I'm here to praise my God, oh, because He gave me life. Come celebrate, come jubilate, come and worship Him. He deserves the praise. Hallelujah, giving the higher praise. Hallelujah, giving the higher praise.
Hallelujah. Giving the highest giving. Hallelujah. Giving the highest praise. Hallelujah. Giving the highest praise. Hallelujah. Giving the highest praise. Ooh, hallelujah. Oh, yeah. Hallelujah. 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 Hallelujah to my Jesus. Hey, hallelujah. Sing praises to Jehovah. Lift up your hands and worship. Lift up your voice and pray.
Good evening, folks. Hallelujah. Giving the higher praise is our theme song here. We want to welcome you to this evening broadcast where we look at news, information, keeping it proportionate. And we thank you for sharing the evenings. Just do me a favor. Let's give recognition. Eric, Mr. Johnson, Tammy, Eric, Thomas, Carlut, Edward, Cooper, Harrison, and all of you great people. And there comes my man, Yusuf from Nigeria. I think Yusuf needs to get a special award here from the family of the Liberia Public Radio for his consistency in tuning in. I mean, guys, just get me wrong. All of you are awesome. Without you guys, we can't do anything here. Possibly nothing we can do here. But a person based in Nigeria will know the data issue. And every evening, once we are on, he's here. So I see there's something that quite fascinating or something that he finds or doing. And this is why we have said on this network, quality is count because it's durable, it is lasting, it resonates. Well, as usual, the Liberal Progressive is standing by to welcome Mr. Tappet, watching from the state of brotherly love and sisterly affection. Marie, good evening and welcome. These are our prime-time valuable listeners. Your views and opinion matters on this network. And that's why all we ask is to maintain civility. So we're going to try to hit a sort of controversial button here this evening. And I'll be having someone here who always a pain in the neck, but he's loved by his follower. The liberal progressive, the guy from Town, Samson Brown told. Let me just bring him in, introduce him, and we'll have a special commentary here. Courtesy of our collaborating partner, that's the African Start newspaper. Let me just bring in the liberal to see where he's. How you looking, man? This guy looking sharp this evening. My goodness. See him. The Town man. Wow. Mr. Totan.
Good evening, Mr. Soul.
Say it again.
I said good evening to you, sir.
Wow. Man, I love that suit, man.
Thank you.
Can you bless your little brother with that suit after the program?
I only give suit to relatives. You must say we're not relative. Why will give suit for?
Oh, today we're not relative because I asked you for your suit. These are the people who can break family line. You guys, you're hearing something to this evening. Mr. Widot, good evening. I sent you the link. You can also join the conversation, Mr. George Widot. Join the conversation if you will. In fact, now anybody, we have we've been throwing this thing out here. It's about the country. Before I go to the commentary that we intend to play here, and I think our board chair, the liberal progressive, I think you can enjoy me as executive director. You never had a person that can give you hell 5 o'clock, call you and all of that. I'm doing my work, so there's no way that you can call board meeting for you to say the CEO, not even you can call. So those of you here, honestly, I'm available. Yeah, George, Mr. Widow, just check your email link is there and join all. And not just only that, we also want even ladies here. And I think the board has given us the blessing. And part of that is about the country that we talk about. So we just have to be a little bit tolerant because folks that are listening to, they get their own side. They get their own version. They understand where they are coming from. So their emotions and a lot of things attached to it. So as long as you have that sort of thick skin, you are like Mr. Bloku and me, or Professor Zawlo or Amos George, then you're good, So any of you guys who wants to really be a contributor here, let us know. It's not a sort of agreement that you're going to sign to say, oh, anyhow we on, you have to. But again, it also comes with commitment because you have to be, that's part of it. All right. So the liberal, I thank you for coming here. Hopefully we're going to join us here. But there is a commentary here, but we're going to be discussing kind of a little consequential issue here since it's an open mic, even though there's a topic there, but we're going to go into other things as well. Should the president, Dr. George Weah of Liberia, use Senator Prince Johnson of Nima County as the sacrificial lamb, as President Sirleaf did to President Charles Taylor? And even if George Weah did today, what is the downsides? Will there be a political implication? And even if that happens today, will that then give a little sunlight to his government to get maybe what he anticipates to get his pro agenda going? Folks, welcome. I'm Afonso Zianso of the Liberia Public Radio and Lpr-Tv. Courtesy of our sister news network online, African Star. We're going to be bringing you this commentary. Folks, just do us a favor. If you can try as much as possible to share this video with friends and family, we will highly, highly appreciate that. Welcome to tonight's evening talking point. Okay, so let me do this here and see whether we can get this here. So, Mr. Toll, we're going to go to the African Star editorial, and we're going to be right here to get this going as well.
Here is an African Star editorial entitled Liberia must commit to justice for all and establish the War Crimes Court. The need to demand justice and accountability in a country which has been rendered deeply wounded by decades of ethnic and political divisions, impunity, pervasive corruption, and the horrific consequences of war in the 1990s is a duty that all Liberians must meet without second thought. During the past week, a principal belligerent and alleged war criminal, Senator Prince Y. Johnson of Nimba County, again clearly demonstrated his disdain and disrespect for any reference to calls for the establishment of a war and economic crimes court when he lashed out and threatened a colleague who broached the issue in session. The issue of the establishment of a war and economic crimes court for Liberia evolved from the senseless bush war that destroyed every fabric of the Liberian society and exposed the country to unwarranted suffering and collapse of the political, economic, social, and cultural institutions. Still, there is a need to ensure closure in a competent forum to offer accountability and justice for victims and survivors of the brutal war. African Star strongly reminds Senator Johnson and all Liberians that ignoring what is right and just at the expediency of the so-called keeping the peace mantra is a threat to respect for the rule of law and justice for the over 250,000 dead who, through no fault of their own, met their deaths at the hands of Johnson and so-called freedom fighters. Part of the adoption of the Comprehensive Accra Peace Accord included the agreement which was signed by warring factions, political parties, and civil groups for the establishment of Liberia's Truth and Reconciliation Commission, the TRC, the mechanism designed to attempt to understand and address the sources of prior conflicts which propelled the country into its recent and devastating wars in the 1990s. Stakeholders and warring factions' acceptance of the establishment of the TRC was not conditional. Therefore, the final report of the Commission, which is supported and respected by the international community and most Liberians, is the best roadmap for reuniting the country, healing, reconciliation, and standing against pervasive impunity. Some Liberians must also be soberly reminded that their lack of respect for events in history, their trivialization and equivocation on the implementation of the final report of the TRC are dangerous and supportive of those who committed horrific crimes during the war. We observe how neighboring Sierra Leone, which was affected by the consequences of war in the sub-region, took the bold and justified step in concluding its TRC process, and without consideration or fear of warlords, it held them to account. Sierra Leone is making progress in healing and reconciliation with no threat from the likes of former warlords. Liberia must learn and adopt the strength of character and bold commitment of Sierra Leone in doing what is right. In the same vein, African Star is very troubled by the lack of focus and real commitment by the government of Liberia, including the national legislature, in facilitating the establishment of the War and Economic Crimes Court. We fault the Ellen Johnson Sirleaf administration for its weak display of character in implementing the final report of the TRC. And like his predecessor, the current Weir administration's dereliction of moral duty is compounded by an indictment leveled by Human Rights Watch last March. According to Human Rights Watch, and I quote, Liberia's Justice Minister Frank Musa gave a misleading statement at the United Nations Human Rights Council on March 17th regarding the government's purported efforts to ensure much-needed justice for widespread atrocity crimes committed during the country's back-to-back civil wars between 1989 and 2003, unquote. We strongly believe that Senator Johnson and those who are accused of committing gross atrocities are supporting the misguided basis that another war will erupt if there is an attempt to prosecute them for their roles. Must understand that the issue of accountability and justice is integral to a society that respects and promotes the rule of law. The moral ideal is bigger than anyone's ego and any tribe or sector of the Liberian society. We challenge Liberians to refocus on eliminating the dark secret of ignoring liberty and justice for all as enshrined in the Pledge of Allegiance. African Star also urges every Liberian, leaders, political parties, the media, and the religious community to take a stand and clearly articulate their support for justice and truth in Liberia. Ordinary Liberians must demand that their representatives and senators unequivocally and openly state their positions on the implementation of the final report of the TRC and establishment of a War and Economic Crimes Court, and then hold them accountable for their adherence to or lack thereof to the rule of law. Liberia's neighbors and the international community will not take the country seriously until it addresses its past and demonstrates that it can do what is right, protect the vulnerable, and disconnect from alleged killers and looters who have stained the image of the country. We also urge individuals and media institutions to avoid unwittingly lending their credibility and platforms to Senator Johnson and others accused war criminals to utilize and continue to justify their past shameful actions against humanity. African Star sees no moral equivalence or equivocation in standing for dispassionate justice for all in Liberia, because according to Edmund Burke, the only thing necessary for the triumph of evil is for good men to do nothing. We are convinced that now is the time for all Liberians, men and women of goodwill, to rise to the challenge of making the establishment of the War and Economic Crimes Court a reality. This will indeed ensure accountability and lasting closure for the victims of the Liberian brutal bush war and enhance justice for all under the law. This editorial represents the view of the editorial board of African Star.
Okay, there you have
Here
it.
is an African.
There you have it. Let's. Okay, there you have it. That's the editor from our Sister 10 network. We're going to be bringing in another new face. He's been following the politics of Liberia. And we want to find out if he has his own side of the story and maybe where his ball going to be landing. Mr. George Wider is joining us here. And hopefully he's going to be picking time to be part of this conversation. That's the diversity we want to create on this network. There you see him. Said Mr. George Wider. Mr. Wider, is that morning time to your end or evening?
It's morning time here. It's on a Tuesday morning. It's about 9:48. So yeah, it's morning.
Okay, so it works for you. Thank you so much for coming in here again. As this is strictly community initiative, good for the interest of our country, and we want to make sure that we give everybody the chance to, to have a conversation. You're going to introduce yourself, but let's just bring you this. We always like to give our viewers and listeners some news making headlines across the globe. Here, this one is coming from the ICC, the International Criminal Court. The name that is being Are you developing pressure so quick, Mr. Widow?
No, actually.
Look, okay. So yeah, why
oh,
it's coming here? Yeah, as you see now, it's crazy. Alleged rebel from the Central African Republic and the functions of the Football Association. My goodness, the former head of the Central African Republic Soccer Federation and an alleged rebel commander. Ally named Rambo are going on trial at the ICC, that's the International Court, Criminal Court, charged with war crime and crime against humanity. The former official, Patrice Adouadot and Alfred Yakunto, are accused of involvement in atrocities, including murder, torture, attacking of civilians. The charges stem from their role as senior leaders in a predominantly Christian militias known as Anti-Balaka. Well, so they're going to be going to the RCC. And interestingly, more news from the RCC, a tough prosecutor, a British national. He was the advisor to the United Nations in 2018, advising the United Nations when the crisis were going on in Iraq. Karim Khan has been appointed as chief prosecutor after obtaining a vote of 131 votes, according to the bulletin from the RCC. He will be replacing Gambian Fatou Bensouda, and his 9-year term will start in June. So, gentlemen, this guy carrying the new chief prosecutor, his profile is huge, it's extensive. We don't know what he's going to be digging up. What have you? So, guys, let's welcome all of you. Widow, thank you for coming on board. The Liberal Progressive, thank you for coming on board. We're going to open a sort of serial room here this evening here, and we're going to strictly inside Liberia. So there's a rhetorical question that is out there. We saw what Helen Johnson Sirleaf, based on the narrative we heard, and even that was in the public domain, the turning over how it came to the point of former President Charles Taylor, even though his presence in the Hague has nothing to do with the crime committed in Liberia, which is another interesting piece of story itself, but his involvement in neighboring Sierra Leone. And there was a hook on the Helen Johnson Sirleaf, pressure mounted on Helen Johnson Sirleaf, Nigeria, the godfather of Africa, and eventually Helen Johnson, in order to get her political quest and to meet the demands of the international community, he like, you know what? I've been through this thing here. I went to jail during the Samuel Doe time. I was flogged at a post-Taki. XYZ happened to me. And in order for my government to survive, this dude has to go, even though there was some sort of collaboration before. And we know the rest of the story. So here is the question, the Liberal Progressive and Widow. Should the president of the Republic of Liberia, Dr. George Weah, considering all the drama, the hulabala that is unfolding now in and out, should he turn over Senator Prince Yomint Johnson? And if that happens, what is the political implication? Will it backfire? What will be the long-term goal? Will that deliver him in the eyes of the international community, especially Uncle Sam? That's a controversial question. I do not know the answer. I'm in quest of finding the answer. Let me see. This Liberty Party, Liberal Progressive, perhaps he get a sense of what I'm saying here. The Liberal. Let me see.
In the pleasure.
Are you there?
Yes, I am.
Okay. So, yeah, we are. And the reason I'm asking here, for some reason, this war crime code, it just burst in recent time. And pressure is being mounted on the government of the Republic of Liberia. No question about that. We might not see it vividly, but if you talk to folks inside the Bellwheel, They are telling you. So if you are the president, even though you're not qualified or you can't be the president, you don't like those sort of trouble job here. Where is the president finding himself right now? Would that be a good thing to turn over this guy to do anything like, you know what, enough is enough. I'm not part of this war here. Helen Johnson Sirleaf did it. I would not be the first person to do it. Prince, you gotta go. Is that a good strategy?
Well, thank you for having me. Welcome, Mr. Wheeler. We appreciate you coming on LeBron platform, LeBron Public Radio platform as well. Mr. So, I think the question you asked is a very good question. However, there are two different scenarios here with what happened with Charles Taylor, former President Charles Taylor, and what is happening right now with Senator Johnson. Charles Taylor then was pretty much like wanted by another jurisdiction, and the jurisdiction of the Sierra Leone War Crime Court, which was already established. They wanted to have Charles Taylor as to be brought on trial because of his involvement in the Sierra Leone War. Mm-hmm. The situation here in Liberia, Dr. Weir cannot turn Prince Johnson over to anybody because nobody is investigating to say we want Prince Johnson or what have you. But what he could do is to actually engage the legislature to open up the possibility of establishing the war crime and economic court in Liberia for Liberians. When that happens, then whoever that's going to be in charge of that process, once that process is established, then those who's going to be running the judges, the court process, whoever is going to be running, they're going to have a list of people of interest. And I believe Prince Johnson will be one of those who will be on the list of people of interest. Interestingly, if that happens and Prince Johnson happen to be on the list of people of interest, in my opinion, then that also opened the door for the Senate to say, the legislature to say, once you are indicted or whatever, you cannot be senator. Then I think the Namibians himself would now find me to say we want to replace Prince Johnson. It's going to happen. It's not going to. He's not going to be shielded for long. It's going to happen. However, I think President Weir, Dr. Weir, that is if I was in his position or if I was advising him, that's the route I would take. There will be consequence. There's no question. There will be political consequence. But he has so much political capital right now. He has so much political stock in the country that he can afford to have certain chip of his stock fall out, and he will still be accepted by many Liberians. Okay, so I don't think there's anything to be afraid of. So I think that would be the right path that I would take if I was involved.
There you go. The guy from Totem providing his expertise. Folks, welcome. Orita Gate and all of the folks, welcome here. Sako. So with that, I set the stage. Introduce yourself to our audience. And if you wish to make a full disclosure, we have nothing to hide here. Which way, what are the CPP, WPP, the GOL, the government of the Republic, or you are free thinker like me? If you wish, you can go that side. Introduce yourself to our folks.
Thank you so much, Mr. Zoe. And Mr. To, thank you. I've been following your show, The Man from Toe Town. Myself being an engineer, I follow your show, especially yesterday. I did not comment because I realized that your information was factual, very technical, and also professional. So I admire that. Keep doing that because I think nowadays in Liberia, most of our brothers and sisters there, what they do study at university now is social work and political science. And I think those, while I think they are good things, they are good subjects to, to study. I think technically it's doing Liberia a lot of harm. So please keep doing what you do because from that people will gain a lot of interest and people want to explore that area to go and study and, impart our nation. So thank you. So onto this subject, I come from a very different school of thought. Yeah, I come from a very different school of thought. I don't think the president should be obliged or should be
Quickly here, let's do a house cleaning here. We don't have anything. Are you comfortable to establish your political identity, if you will?
Sure. Okay, my name is George Wheeler. Prior to coming to Australia, I worked with the United Nations in Liberia and both here in Asia. And I support the government. George Weah, the current president, is the only one I've ever voted for in my life. In 2005, I voted for him, even though he did not win. By the time I voted for him, and I think he's the right person for the job. I think he's doing extremely well, and we should all support him. So that's my position, and I feel very, energetic to be on this platform. I think I followed this platform for a while now, and I think you guys are doing a good job. The information is most time very factual and balanced, so I appreciate that.
So bottom line here, let me take the word of JJ Sako Senior here. We always take our viewers and followers comment. As long they are in a civil context, we will always display it. JJ Sako Senior say, you are a sedition. Say it. Is it correct?
Oh, JJ Sako is correct. He's here in Australia as well. We are good friends here.
Oh, okay. All right. So they can't eat it, right?
Every time I go to a state in Melbourne, I stay at his house. So we are good friends. He knows me quite well. I am a sedition, and there's nothing here to hide. I think we should call a spade a spade. I think JJ Sako is right. But yeah, I want to go to the point of anything that has to do with the current situation in Liberia concerning Prince Johnson. While I think justice should be something to practice as a nation, I think our president should not be coerced or should not be pressured or anything whatsoever to have him turn over Prince Johnson. This is too far. Charles Taylor, as ready as Mr. Toll said, he was prosecuted for the war, in Sierra Leone. And if the Americans come up to tell us Liberians that they want to prosecute Prince Johnson for the role he played in the death of one of their citizens that is always said on the social media, I think they should also go through the court process. We can extradite this guy. But for a war crimes court to be established in Liberia, it has to be the initiative of Liberians because nothing has happened to that front. I think the TRC that came into play created more problems than it solved. And I think just like Costa, I mean, he ran away to America, and everyone is saying that if the government wants him, let them extradite him, let them go through the court process. I think it's the same thing here. I think if the American government wants to prosecute Prince Johnson on their jurisdiction, they should, file in some papers to our court system, and we can extradite him. But without that, I don't want anyone to take it seriously. I think this is just a political football game that will continue to be played.
Okay, I think that's another good puzzles you guys added because all what we've been hearing from the Uncle Sam, especially Antoinette Weeder, it's easy. We know video out there, the torture and what have you, what he gave the instruction, but going before the court is a different thing. The former president's son from Kenya went before the court. We saw Laurent Gbagbo and Blair Gourier from Cote d'Ivoire went before the court. Is Prince Johnson, is he feeling that he's so targeted by the Liberian people or America? Because there is the apprehension, we don't know, they have not come with the facts, that can be presented before the court of competent jurisdiction. And it's quite interesting because the emphasis being placed here, gentlemen, is these firearms that were killed in 1992. Charles Taylor then denied that it had nothing to do with it, which the late Gaswa Yamento gave that press statement. I'm not sure whether Prince Johnson has come out, but we listen to Dr. White, and the American potentially are arguing that, in fact, Taylor, they were very much clear. They say it's not in our control, it's Prince Johnson area. So it puts Prince Johnson and the INPFL on edge that they are most likely responsible for that. Should the American comes out to say, hey, this is the guy that did this crime, this is the guy that murdered this American, is it being prosecuted because of these 5 calories, or are there any other things connected to that? This whole route here is like an octopus. And if this war crime code is to go, when they come for Alfonso So, who maybe point at somebody, say, this person is a government official, this person here, the connectivity and all of the factors that are involved, those things going to be looked at. But is Prince Johnson, is he feeling targeted in this whole thing? Or is it because he's talking a lot?
Mr. So, I think while we agree that the American are hurt because their citizens were murdered allegedly by certain Liberians, but let us also understand that these were not crimes that were committed in isolation. So I doubt it if the American would just want to prosecute or want to have an individual who they believe is responsible for the death of their citizen during the war, which the American themselves also recognized it was civil war. So I don't think they would just try to set aside all of the atrocity that was committed during the war and just say we're not much concerned with the atrocity committed against Liberian. We're just only concerned with our folks. So I think the Americans are trying their best. I believe that they're trying their best to kill two birds with one stone. They're trying to establish, go through the Liberians, for the Liberians themselves to establish this war crime code and economic code in Liberia, so that they will be able to use that opportunity now for them to provide whatever evidence they have to prosecute those who they think are responsible for the death of their citizens, which then, of course, will also bring in other Liberians. Now, Mr. So, this thing is it's complicated. Number one, the first thing here is this. If the war crime court that every one of us are claiming about and wanting war crime and economic court to come to Liberia is very interesting. I think this government, despite my younger brother who is a sedition, which you know where I stand when it comes to CDC and what have you. But I'll be very careful here this afternoon because he seemed to be sedition, but an intellectual sedition. And so I will try to separate that quite frankly. But no, Mr. So, look, if this president, in my opinion, this president should stay ahead of this. You know, the international community. I keep saying this. They will give you the minimum just so that you will not start trouble in the region, just so that your people will not be hungry and go other places and start trouble in the region. So they will give you the minimum, but they could give you more. However, these are some of the things I believe that are stopping these people from doing more for Liberia. Look at Liberia right now. Who are the investors that you have in Liberia from the international community? The international community could be tilting Liberia on to say this is a good place for people, and people will go there to invest. But because of these little things that are holding down the government ability to truly invite the investor. Mr. So, I hate to do this here, but please permit me. The current president of the Republic of Liberia, is an international star. This young man has done so much that many citizens of all over the world, countries, what have you, they will be proud of. This is the young man that comes from a slum, went to Europe to play football, was able to make money. At the same time, did not bring one disgrace to himself and to the country. Dr. Weah was never at one time. So, Dr. Weah was drunk yesterday and he couldn't play, or he was suspended and what have you. This young man, the discipline level of this young man was something that every soccer player, it doesn't matter where you come from, Brazil or whatever, they admire of that. To have the same individual now to be in a position to help his own country. This is the same country that because of his skill, he was able to single-handedly put Liberia on the map, where many Liberians at the same time were destroying life, destroying property. He's continued at that time to put Liberia on the map positively. So, but now to be the president of the Republic of Liberia and the international community are shying away from developing, from truly investing. I think
let me hold you there. Yeah, we're not roller skating here. What is responsible for that? Let me bring in.
I just tell you, the people around him. The people around him. Okay. These are the same people that continue to give him information that are not true. Look at this kinds of stuff. Instead of them to come here and try to meet, now we have Eugene Falcon making a video talking about Costa is lying and what have you. Is that what we come down to? This is a very big disgrace for all of us.
Let me come in.
Yeah, Mr. Widow, before you come here, let's set it right here because we are talking about it. It's somewhere in 2019 here, 2019 of September. That is on the outlets of the front page. The president sent a letter to the national legislature as well, relative seeking advice, right, to this whole war crime code. So it's like, okay, let me just take this whole load off my hair and put it into the assembly to have a conversation and see what it looks like. Since 2019, we are in 2021. I'm not sure the length of conversations being kept, being discussed within both houses and the sort of consensus that they are reached. I just thought that it's fair to put it out there. But I guess you want to respond to the Liberal, right?
Yes, sure. Mr. To and Mr. So, I will want to make the disclosure that I'm against the idea of establishing a war crime code in Liberia.
Why?
And that decision is solely mine and my own aspiration and my own idea. And this is why. If you can recall, one of the persons who I can say is responsible for bringing the war to Liberia was Charles Taylor. Charles Taylor is currently serving a 50-year prison sentence. If I may ask, how has that affected people in Liberia? How has it changed our mindset? How has it brought closure to us as Liberians? I was 9 years old when the war started, and I kept flying from Ivory Coast, Ghana, and what have you. We did all these things. This guy is serving 50 years in prison. And our people are still going hungry in Liberia. People are still dying from curable diseases. But now we want to spend millions of dollars to put another 1 or 2 person in prison. And we will get old. What that happens, our children, people will still be dying of hunger and starvation, I must say, and diseases. But here we are chasing this thing and not looking at the implication, what is happening back, behind us. Yeah, what happens? A lot of people in our assembly or the legislature, they were voted for because they said they were going there to change the lives of the people. Some people said the economy was in the toilet and they were going to take it out of the toilet and put it on the living room.
Who are you making reference to, Mr. Widow? We have nothing to hide here. Some people say,
I'm talking about Dillon, Senator Dillon. Senator Dillon said the economy was in the toilet. And if I can recall, and anyone here on this platform can recall, he has done nothing whatsoever to take that economy out of the toilet. Now he's traveling. He came to the assembly with $3.50. Now he has more than 200,000 in his account. But people are still suffering. If you go down Red Light, if you go down to Waterside Market, you go down to my village, people are still going hungry. But this is the sort of thing that they have chosen to fight. To make some noise in the media, to sensitize things, to make things sensational to people that they are trying to do something for people. They are not doing anything for anyone. Okay. I think it's a waste of money, waste of our time to establish any economic or war crime code. I think the same code that prosecuted Banu Samukai, that today he's guilty, can prosecute anyone who is found guilty of committing any atrocity in Liberia or any crime.
Okay.
Thank you.
By fate of my eye, I see the Liberal Progressive is throwing, if you wish he could fly into Australia or whatever you are here.
Yes,
because he call his partisan name, so something is boiling within now going on. The Liberal.
Yes.
He went in your political column. I'm not sure whether you're still going to be nice with him here until this program comes to an end. But here he's saying, Wheeler is saying that Dillon has not done anything. He, as an individual, and again, these analysts, whatever expressed here, does not in any way represent these political institutions. They are not speaking for them. They are speaking for themselves.
Mr. So, Mr. So, I'm glad that Mr. Wheeler has the opportunity to freely express himself publicly. We appreciate that. And as I stated before, he's an intellectual sedition. And so we agree. We agree. However, Mr. Wheeler is entitled to his view, but Mr. Wheeler is not entitled to facts. Mr. Wheeler has not given us anything here that is factual that I can try to respond to. Basically, Mr. Wheeler, perhaps he has forgotten, but I need to remind Mr. Wheeler, maybe because Australia, they call Australia down under. So perhaps they are thinking and everything is going down south on them. So we need to get Australia to turn back to the north. Perhaps then they're going to be thinking a little bit. But let me give you this. Mr. Wheeler, if you don't mind, Senator Dillon came to this position describing himself as a light, and many Liberians accepted it. Senator Dillon came to this position a second time, and there was barrage of seditions, hierarchy sedition. We want Tomofala. They were spending all the corrupt money. Senator Dillon, nevertheless, was able to flock all of you sedition. What are you in the USA? What are you in Australia? Many of you were running all around here thinking that Senator Dillon was done. He was able to succeed. Why? Because many Liberians believe in Senator Dillon. So, Mr. Wheeler, you can say all you want to say. You are entitled to your view, but you are not entitled to your own view. And I bet you, and let me just say this publicly, please do not give us alternative facts, because there are no alternative facts. Facts are just facts. You cannot give me alternative facts. And since you're from the downs, all the way down there, I will give you a little reprieve here this afternoon. So this is something that you want to make sure that when you engage in Senator Dillon and you're speaking about Bonnie Samaka. What court in the world that will convict someone because they were carrying out the order of the chief executive? But anyway, this is Nigeria. So I'm just saying, Mr. Mr. Wheeler is entitled to his view, but he's not entitled to the facts.
And very shortly, we also going to fall apart, because that other ending statement, it sounds so ridiculous to say whoever in the world that can carry out the mandates of the chief executive. The chief executive did that. If it's wrong, why they didn't even call Helen Johnson? There are so many factors.
Because if you come across like that, but then I'm not surprised, Mr. So. Okay, you are a conservative. And so you will come in here this afternoon and try to take the conservative line. And that's why I'm here as a liberal. I'm here as a counterweight to your view.
What happens? The liberals, they look to where the sun rises, and they're not even thinking where the sun going to set. But I like to walk and see and put it on the skills and look at the consequences and all of the things that are involved. But Mr. Widow, I don't want your thought to go away. He said a lot of things. You mentioned something, guy, to say what he's done. Samson took all his laundry from Town to Morovia to Sacramento. I'm looking at, I thought he would have mentioned a specific political or hallmark. Of course, in any race or races, there must be a winner. But I thought we would have come to this.
Mr. So, please, you cannot bring down the victory of Senator Dillon and bring it down to mere somebody got to win. No, I will not accept it. Senator Dillon was elected because of his contribution to the society of the people of Bosarau County.
That's the problem with you guys that are so politically minded and so politically driven by these social clubs called political parties. I don't trust in them. But I'm going to come back. I want Widow to respond to you. because I thought maybe you have pointed out a specific piece of legislation, the sort of working team that we want to see, that sort of bipartisanity. It's not happening, and this is why we are not going anywhere. We don't take it away.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. So I think to do Mr. To justice, I think he spoke quite well, but did not, bring any facts that was alternative to the mind. I think the senator, even though he was supported by most people in Liberia, and most of the that's what I often see about Liberians. We often want change, and sometimes we do not actually calculate what the change is about and what entails, what is going to bring about. They just want something different, and that's why you saw people voting for Senator Dillon with that intensity. But I think he's done nothing. I think he has enriched himself. As we all know, he did not have money, and now he has money, and that seems not to bother any of his supporters. And I think that is unfair to the Liberian people, because our people are still suffering. This senator came, every time anything is brought up, he will go and hold it with both hands and then dash it. One of the things that leaders are often hailed for is their ability to galvanize support for their ideas, to achieve their ideas. And that's one of the things that if a leader has it, he becomes very effective. Well, I don't see that to be with Senator Dillon. What he does is like an ordinary citizen like you and I. He would just, cause noise, and make people to hear him that he can speak.
Was there any reason for causing that noise, if you think? Is there any valid reason if the noise is being caused?
Because he wants to stay he still want to stay relevant in the society. So he has to cause that noise so they say, oh, he's speaking, but actually saying nothing, and he's doing nothing. So the fact of the matter is that he will say
his action to seek political attention from
exactly the relevance, political relevance. That's what he wants. And people are this cunning behavior, this trickster, it continues to cloud the minds of our people, and even intellectuals as well, because we often don't find a way past our hatred or our opposition to other people. We find out that once we support someone, regardless of what the person does, is right. And it must be because we don't want to be flip-flopping at times. And we need to put our differences aside and focus on Liberia. I think Senator Dillon has done nothing. Absolutely nothing. He says that and what we call he brings about things that will play on the gullibility of our people. And these people will continue to support him. And it's sad for our democracy, because while we understand that the majority takes it, usually often the majority sometimes are wrong. And that's the case of Senator Dillon.
Okay, I know, and this conversation I know is getting a little bit, what his name, Milfeed Dakota, very shortly I'm going to be publishing this, no more here. But let us just come back to base here. There's something that we are discussing here. Now, what happens from the Costard interview with Dr. Allen White, there are two things that I really took away. It was well calculated. It was meant to put the government on edge, and I can say to a large extent he succeeded in doing that, because Allen White has been one of the person, he's one of the faces of many other been wanting with this whole, pushing this whole war crime code here. But he says something crucial, and I know people talking about money. And I know if you do your research, you do a check around to prosecute a war crime code, it's not easy. One case is almost approximately $36 million. So there's no way that Liberia can do that. However, he also said, look, the president can do a letter, all right? And he's willing to push it. So what that does now is like, okay, he putting you on the wall. You can't go through this war. When the government gets tough, the tough gets going. That's the situation the government has found herself. So the next thing now, people are going to be looking, will the president take that advice? Or not only the president, with the government. The government, there are three branches of government. The first branch, and that of the executive, and the president in September sent a letter to the legislature for advice. And my concern, this letter has been there. And these 103 men and women, we are paid in, they are getting taxpayer money. Their inability to sit as members from different political parties, like that of Samson to Liberty Party and the rest, to sit and have a genuine conversation, to take a holistic approach and see how the test of the Liberian people can really happen. Instead, we, the same very electors, the Liberian, we rewarded these people with huge and big political offices, giving them the absolute authority to preside over some of these consequential issues that you and I cannot even talk about because it's just not within our domain. Now, if this doesn't happen, will that cause a political effect on the president with the electors? We don't know. We hope maybe people can do a statistics what the people are looking at. But Liberians, electorate, sometime again, the factor in different reasons. But I'm wondering if this doesn't happen until 2023, would that cause the CDC the presidency? Because Liberians will say, you know what, this is what we want. And perhaps our government is not giving. They might not look at the legislature. They might not look at all of the other forces and actors. But it will say the government, the president is not doing enough. And so that the vengeance will be, the anger will be taken at the pool, and there might be a problem. But I'm also waiting for these people that are contesting to make this sort of political commitment, gentlemen, to come out for Joseph Boyka, to Elizana Kumi, to come out to say, if I'm elected, I will do everything possibly can to work with the international community to bring these perpetrators and these alleged murderers, to bring them to justice. I'm not sure whether any of them sign or have committed to such a treaty. We're going to open this line here quickly here so that people, because this is a burning issue.
Mr. So before you open the line, let me just say something here very quickly, folks. And again, Mr. Wheeler, again, thank you very much for identifying yourself. But folks, those of you that are quite aware of sedition and CDC politics, this is exactly how they play it. They want you to watch something to show you the ball, then they underneath the ball, they do something else. Mr. Wheeler, it says the topic of the conversation here this afternoon is war crime. And of course, we're here to discuss whatever it is that we have to discuss. But Mr. Wheeler wants to change the subject matter and make it into Dylan instead of a war crime issue. Mr. Wheeler have already told us that he has no interest in establishing the war crime economic court in Liberia. So we understand his position. But I want to do this here. I'm not going to go in the rabbit hole and chase the rabbit in our hole. No, I'm here to talk about if Senator Dillon was not doing good, Senator Dillon would have been fired by the Liberian people, by the people in Mosul County. However, they retain him. That's how much I can go on Senator Dillon. Now, back onto this subject matter. Mr. Wheeler have not told us why specifically that he is not interested in having a war crime and economic court in Liberia. Number one, what the reason why I am in support of this, I know there are so many difficulties. There's so many challenges when it comes to the war crime economic court in Liberia. Well, I'm not too sure if we're even prepared for that. However, that should not mean that we should not have these kinds of conversation to be able to establish the court in Liberia. Mr. Wheeler, I appreciate when you're saying that you have no interest in it, but at least give us some specificity. So to say that specifically, this is the reason why I don't want war crime, economic crime. But instead, you can't just say because people are not doing what they're supposed to do, they are enriching themselves. Those are two subject matters I don't think we need to go in much.
So before we go to the lines, Mr. So, before we go to the lines, maybe just make this other declaration. Look, I think what Liberians need is a better life. I think Liberians prefer better life than having prosecution of anyone who participated in the war. It has been 18 years, 18 broken years since our war came to an end. And if we are still talking about prosecuting those who, took part in the war or who bear the most responsibility of the war coming to Liberia, I think it's belated. I think, look, we live in a Western world. Most of us are familiar with the legal system. When someone kills someone,
One second, I'm gonna come.
and the court process is initiated, usually the government pays some money to the family. That tells you that justice is not about putting someone in prison, but it's about rewarding those to make them comfortable. I think if Liberians can get a better life, a better living situation, they will forget about whatever happened in the past and move on. So what I want to tell you is that it did not happen 18 years ago, and our war is a peculiar one. our war was more tribal than political or idealistic. It was all about tribal sentiments. So I think it's gonna create more chaos. It's gonna create more instability in the region than it will solve. That's my position.
Okay, folks, we're going to be going back. Welcome, I'm Afonso Zienso. Wida is joining us here in the Liberal Progressive. I'm just getting a message here. Type George will not be here. So he said, Liberal, enjoy yourself this evening, but he's going to catch up with you. We are in a very consequential decision here. Should the president turn the wheel on Prince Johnson to save his presidency and to validate his leadership with the international community? Guys, let me just go to the line. Let's get our people. Let's get Liberians. Reactions here. Callers, are you there?
Yes, sir. I'm right here.
Yes. Okay, good. There are two numbers here. Let me go to neighboring Bay State, 774 number 7611, which is a familiar number. Caller, good evening. What's your name?
How you doing, Mr. Stowe? This is Mr. Dualu calling from Boston, Mass. How you doing, sir?
Okay, good. Who's in trouble with you this evening, my man?
The Mr. Man from Australia.
Oh, my goodness.
Let me just say this. I have serious doubt that he fully understands what governance is. He talked about whether Senator Dino has done anything for the country. Senator Dino does not control the caucus of the government of Liberia. He's a senator. Let me tell you what he's done. Perhaps you may not see it yet. Well, Senator Dino's intention is for the future. It's not just for the immediacy that you talk about. Now, I will agree with you on the issue of these guys that amassing wealth, Senator Dino's included, but his vision is the institutionalization of our governance process. That's an addition to the country. He's been pushing to institutionalize our agencies, our governance process, while people still building school and we celebrate it. You're sedition. But here's one thing I want to say to you. Whether President Weah gives up Honorable Johnson or not, he's not going to win again. But I want to say something about the War Crime Court. This is not about imprisoning an individual. It's about recalibrating the governance process in Liberia. We did not prosecute these warlords. We did not do what we're supposed to do. It is never too late. It is not about imprisonment. And number two, Liberia is not going to foot the bill on this. I know, Mr. So, you talked about this is not very, this is not very cheap. I understand it. But the international community is willing to come in if we are willing to make the first move to get these criminals and these murderers out of Liberia. The issue is about governance. It's about reestablishing the rule of law. It is so crucial to the viability of Liberia. It's not something that should be taken lightly. Until we do that, we will continue to be spinning in the Ferris wheel, okay? Like one of the little bunny rabbits that be spinning around. But I want you to understand the institutionalization of our governance process, it is not nothing. Senator Dino is pushing for this. But
can you give me an example? Example of what he's doing?
You have to understand the distinction, my brother. It's way more than what you think. It's not muya muya or you're not cow told.
Okay, let me go to the let me go to the next caller here. Thank you so much. Okay, all right. Let me go to 346 number 3746. Caller, what's your name and where you calling from?
This is Keseli Ndaba, and I'm calling from Texas.
Mr. Double, good evening and welcome.
Yeah, good evening, Mr. So, and good evening to your guests in the studio. Mr. So, it is a shame that you found a young Liberian, any Liberian, but most especially young people, whose future was destroyed by the Civil War, the senseless and useless Civil War, to sit here and tell people that you do not want a war crime code. It is a shame. Especially to the educated one. It is a big shame. It is a disgrace. If you know what some of us went through in the hands of those rebels, those murderers, you wouldn't be sitting here saying such a thing, my brother.
Okay.
It is a disgrace. Every Liberian, regardless of your standing, whether you are pro-government person or anti-government, should be in supportive of this war and economic crime code. Corruption is eating our country apart. Corruption is one of the most deadly diseases that has Liberia, what Liberia is today. And then you say you do not want such a court in Liberia? Mr. Young Man, what other countries are developing and we keep crying every day Liberia is going nowhere?
So, Mr.
It is a shame.
Doba, what you are saying simultaneously, the War Crime Code and the Economic Crime Code both should go in simultaneously. Is that what you're saying?
Hear me here. Exactly what I'm talking about.
Okay.
They are all committed serious crime on Liberia. The Civil War was brought about because of the corruption.
Okay.
So we need a vote of them.
All right.
Mr.
We cannot be one and go for the other. And on the line of the issue he said about Senator Dillon, let me just throw a little light on it.
Yeah, do it quickly.
My brother, don't expect you to be blind to reality. For the short time Senator Dillon has been in that Senate, what he has done in that Senate, even the CDC lawmakers who have been in that Senate for 9 years have not done what Senator Dillon has done just in 1.5 years.
Okay.
So therefore, you and I are discussing this War Crime Code because of Senator Dillon. So
wow.
The agreement that was signed by the Unity Party government is going to be revisited because of Senator Dillon.
Oh my God.
Senator Dillon is pushing for a reduction of salary for government officials. There's a lot of them. If I had a time, I would need more for you on this platform.
Okay, let me go to the next person so that they will respond.
Let us preach the best for Liberia, please.
Okay, thank you so much. Okay, folks, let's keep it succinct, very brief, so that the analysts too, they will respond to give them the time. At least 1 minute should be a wrap up. Let me go to this number here, 267-5983. Caller, good evening. What's your name and where you calling from?
Yeah, Lily, how you doing?
Good. How are you? Go ahead.
Yeah, this is Bud Dingman calling from Cedar Rapids, Iowa. You see, Mr. So, when we look at other Liberians and the educators ones, for that matter, they make some statement on social media. If you don't have nothing to say, just keep home. When they invite you, you say, no, I'm not doing nothing. Don't come to the Economic and War Crime Code establishment in our country. This will bring a little bit of relief. We got Josh Bullet, who's sitting down right there. We have Alhaji Kurman, who's sitting down right there, although he's sick. We have my own senator from Nima County. He's there. You know, we should come more in Liberia to set example for the incoming generation, our children and grandchildren to come. But I was very, very disappointed in my brother from Australia. When Senator Dillon has 200,000 in his, Senator Dillon is there bringing transparency into our country. You know, it is just like that, Senator Dillon. Obama.
Let's go straight to the point. So there are others here.
Yeah,
When I keep
Obama are coming. We fought senseless war in Liberia. Obama just spent 1 year, 1.5 years. It's just Senator Dillon. If Senator Dillon has come up to say, I want to be president today, Liberians across the group will sponsor him. They will find ways for his campaign money to be reached to where Senator Dillon wants to be. But my brother, I'm very, very disappointed, man. What you say about Senator Dillon tonight, it don't augurs well with me and with many Liberians.
No, I mean, just speak for yourself. Don't speak for people.
Yeah, I'm speaking for myself. I'm speaking for myself. It don't augurs well with me. Okay. When man is doing something, just say he do it. But I hate, when sedition come up to be pointing at Senator Dillon. That's wrong.
Okay.
Please,
all right. Thank you. Let me go to the
background. Do your study.
Okay. Let me just say this. These are very important issue. I think people views their opinions. They are not facts because you can't do it. People should respect it, and you just be able to kind of put your own version to get the person convinced. Let me go to this number here, 612. After these two numbers, I'm going to go back to the panelists for the conversation. 641 number to 9009. Are you there, caller?
Yes, I'm here, Mr. So. Thank you.
Good evening. Welcome. Where are you calling from?
This is Harrison Bayubo calling from Marshalltown, Iowa.
Okay. So, Mr. Bayubo, go ahead. What's your side of the story?
Well, my side of the story is that, some people will come on and say it's been 20 years or 18 years that and the war economic crime code has not been set. Okay? But what they fail to know, is to the gravity of of even the economic crime. Economic crime is still continuing, and in fact, it's related to some mysterious killing that is continuing to go on in the country. So if we keep saying that, oh, it's not necessary at this time, and whereas we have corruption-related mysterious killing still going on in the country, how do we bring that to an end? The cancel culture of impunity continue to derail the development of our country. That's one of the things we need to look at. If it was even, let's just say, okay, the war is over, and let everybody come back together and reconcile their differences. Yet there are people that fought war in higher position and using the little guys that fought war whenever there's a corruption on them and people go to check where the money goes. They go after them and kill them. Like the death of Matthew Ennis and the death of those, I think, 4 auditors, even including a truck driver that was taking money to the bank in Vonyama. He got killed that time. So all of these things cannot, we cannot develop our country when there's no law and order in the country. How do we develop?
Okay, thank you so much. Let me go to the next person here. I-515, number is 0985. Caller, what's your name and where you calling from?
Yeah, Mr. Gilbert, my name is Benedict Waller.
Okay.
I call for Iowa.
Okay.
Iowa.
Okay, Mr. Waller, welcome. Go ahead.
Yeah, Mr. Gilbert, I want to make Liberians to understand something. Our God is a just God. Even when you go, whatsoever you commit a sin today, and you go where people say he forgive you, by the end of the day, he still chastise you. Our people need to understand that if they want an economic crime code is not done in Liberia, Liberia will not take a total turnaround. Too many things are happening in that nation because this particular thing has not been settled with. Sierra Leone today is enjoying peace and tranquility. Why? Because they put their foot on the ground and decided that, hey, we must settle this particular aspect of our lives before we can move forward. And one thing, we just got a kind of gullible society. I need an old God. I need an old God. You need an old God at the end of the day. What's going to happen to you?
Okay.
You see somebody will come and tap somebody, call out somebody, hey, will you go to court or whatsoever? Then the Liberian community come to you and say, oh, I beg you, please withdraw the case. You know that this was that one. Where is justice? This thing is killing our society. It's killing the fabric of our society.
So bottom line,
this war and economic crime code.
Okay.
It will be the best thing for Liberia. Okay. That will be the best way forward for this nation, for our nation to be able to move towards the betterment. Please, Mr. Gilmore, I beg all of us Liberians.
Thank you.
Let us put this sentiment thing aside for CDCU, not for CDCU, for United Party, not for United Party. Put it aside and let's put Liberia first. Liberia is bleeding and Liberia needs justice. Okay. The nation needs justice and the nation must get justice.
All right. Thank you so much. Let me go there. Coming via our own law here. Mr. Jackson is on the line from neighboring Massachusetts. Uncle Sam, are you there?
Yes, sir. Thank you. How are you?
Okay. Good to have you here. This seems to be, I'm not sure whether this sort of conversation want to go away in a recent time. And even if it disappeared, crazy thing happens in the media, but I'm quite sure comes 2023, politicians are going to be intensified again. Let's hear from you.
Well, my advice, is so that we have to be careful what we want. And the reason is war crime code is this the only thing that we need to make that country, to be where it want to be.
Mm-hmm.
I have 2 persons that work with me that come from Rwanda.
Mm-hmm.
One is Tutsi, one is Hutus.
Wow.
I try, to get information from them. They refuse to discuss their war issue because they said they are done with it and they don't want to go and dig out the past.
Wow.
They don't want to talk about it. They are happy because they say the country have come together and they said they should discuss it, to bring up the past. That would exacerbate anger, But here is my take. if you were to ask me now, I would say I don't think we need war crime. What we need is we need economic crime code, because there are a lot of corruption. And the reason is the moment we start bringing war crime code, we're going to dig a whole lot of things. We might think of one person, but we might be bringing more than 10 person. And if we're able to bring over 100 person, do we have the cost to say we, be able to, bring those people, to judgment? It took almost a year, for us to see the go through the process with child killer. And at the time, other countries had to volunteer for them to imprison child killer. Are we willing, to say we undertake the process? Two, we are not only looking at those people, but they were sponsors of the war. And those sponsors
people
of the
who
war,
people that facilitated the process.
Those that facilitated the process. Are we only looking at Ellen Johnson said no? I'm looking at countries that either abetted the whole war. Let's take, for example, Libya. Let's take,
Ivory
for example,
Coast, Burkina Faso.
Ivory Coast, Burkina Faso, Sierra Leone. We can't take them out of it. If you notice where Udemo came from, it was from there. And you understand? But before Udemo, they were one of those who helped those guys before. So we can't just say we are looking at individuals. We have to be very careful what we're looking for, because it might eventually, and you understand, take us back, and we might be able to have enemies for ourselves. I'm just thinking about it.
All right. Thank you.
See that there's a way that we can punish those people in war crime. And the way we can do it is we come among ourselves and we petition our legislator to say all those that took part in the war, who were warlords and sponsors, they shouldn't take part in politics anymore. And you will see all of them will melt down. Because that's the way they can get money out. And that could be my suggestion. So let me give it to the platform. Let them discuss it. Black, you can take it up from there.
Gentlemen.
Yes.
Okay. The Liberal, are you in bed? You sleeping? Somebody pour, somebody muddy your water, or
that's what you have if you've been packed in the garage for so long.
Okay, since you want to be the jokester boycott, anyway, you're in the same column. Okay, but, is the thing here. And it's good to hear these sort of diverse, talking point. And this is where sometimes I can get a little bit upset. People, I do not have the tolerance to listen to other people, but they want to be listened to. It doesn't make sense. It's completely illiterate, it's stupid, it's not a genuine conversation. Genuine conversation, you listen to me, I listen to you. What I'm saying, it doesn't mean it should be true to you. Be able to convince me. And this is what we are not being able to do in our political discourse. You don't want to listen to me, but you want me to listen to you. Who does that? I'm not going to do that. So here is the thing here. So you go ahead, Widow, and I'll go to the Liberal.
No, before Widow coming, Mr. Widow, just hold on 1 minute. Let me make one point here to our audience as well. I think when we come to these platform and what have you, to have these kinds of genuine discussion, I think first of all we need to appreciate each other's position, because these are not something that you can go to very easily. And there are people that are watching us and people that will be watching the video later on. So Mr. Wheeler coming out here to express himself, he have put himself out there. Not that he's afraid, but this is what he thinks. So why will you come out and say you are ashamed of him and you're embarrassed? I mean, this is not the kind of thing that we want to do. Let us allow ourselves to express ourselves freely. And even if you don't agree with me, and many of you that were responding are educated people, you know the language you can speak. You can't just come out here and try to condemn somebody because of their feeling or because of their expression. They're entitled to it. So let us respect each other. Go ahead, Mr. Wheeler.
Thank you, Mr. Nto and Mr. So. Look, I think most of the calls.
I change my name with this guy, man. This guy named Toso.
It's very confusing as well.
So you're not complaining when a man call you game on here 4 or 5 times. I
don't even know who the other person is. I don't even understand who the other one was doing that, but I'm going to be a distraction. Go ahead.
Look, I came to this platform with the hope of expressing the views that I hold, and I knew that a lot of people would disagree with me, and I was prepared for that. And I'm not going to hold anybody responsible, for not agreeing with me, because everyone should be entitled to their view. The only thing we are not entitled to is the facts. You cannot have your own facts. The facts has to be something out there. So look, here's what I want to say. I understand a lot of people, they are, claiming that only the War and Economics Crime Code can bring genuine peace to Liberia. I disagree. And I disagree because of so many reasons. And look, for me, I usually come to the debate with tangibles. Look, currently we sit in Liberia where Brandon Samukai, who committed economic crime in Liberia during the early Johnson Sirleaf government, and he was indicted by an audit report that came from Ellen's government. So it came over to George Weah government. He's being prosecuted. The first attempt to resolve this matter was to have him repay the money he stole. He said no, because he knew that the judicial system is corrupt. So he knew that if he had gone to court, he would win the case instead of paying this money. So he said no, he wouldn't pay the money. So he went to court. Surprisingly for him, because of the pressure that had been mounted on our judicial system from the international community, he was found guilty. And now he said, okay, maybe I can try again, pay some money to maybe go to the Supreme Court. He went and been found guilty. And here's what's happening now. The National Election Commission was petrol-bombed because of him. The house of one of the judges of the Supreme Court was also petrol-bombed because of him. Here's what is happening just for Bernie Samukai, who was not a rebel leader in Liberia, who is just from Lofa. I come from Lofa. I'm a Loma man. I don't support what he did. He stole from poor people who should be retiring with something to sit with their children.
But with a run next here, the liberal progressive from Totan said, well, the minister was taking instruction from the president. That sounds so ridiculous and it's absurd. What they are doing, his talking point is paving the way tomorrow. Where Serena Seaforth, he will come he calls for a money that the government doesn't have with the hope to retrieve asset. You see it, benevolent detectors, Samuel Tue, his body, say here, Fanatic Kofa, all of these people here. So he's telling me now, I don't want to speak for other people, he's telling me now, after George Weah presidency, then these people will come to say, oh, we were acting on behalf of the order of the president. This is the same getaway attitude. Something told.
Yeah, Mr. Zold, let me just finish, right? The thing is that these people, they want to create a gap on our legal system to get away with doing these economic crimes, right? For the fact of the matter that crime cannot be transferred. Because if you come to me, I was responsible for the budget line and I misuse it, and I say I got the orders from this person. And you cannot prosecute that person because he gave orders, because crime is done by me. I expended the money. So that crime should be me. That person cannot be held responsible. You could not hold Ellen Johnson Sirleaf responsible for the money that Bernie Samukai even used manager check to expend. I got the entire court ruling that I read through, and I felt sorry for Liberia. And I see ignorant people in the streets want to demonstrate for this guy. Why he stole from poor people, their own money. He stole it, and these people are protesting for him. It's so pathetic. And that's why Liberia, we need to sit down and think about our lives and think about what it is that we want as Liberians. Because if you look at the facts on the table, it's completely divorced from what the people are saying in the streets. It's so pathetic.
But so it's interesting thing here, because I interviewed one of the closest, and I will get a liberal chance because it's a little like his cholesterol, everything going up now. There was a meeting held. And because Samukai, I received that document as well. That disclosure was made behind the scene when he said it about Helen Johnson Sirleaf. And there were two meetings held. One was at the old lady house, and one was held at the president's house. So who is former President Helen Johnson Sirleaf, that even if she's no longer in control of the executive, so it can't exempt her. There's no any immediate there. If there was anything wrong doing, she should also be held liable. She should also be held responsible. But here, all what we are talking, in all of the midst of this thing here, this woman is being awarded an international award with catch. War and Economic Crime Code. Yeah, I think that's one of the key things here. Her son demolished, demoralized, destroyed, and broke down no car. One of the reservoirs of Liberia generation, and say what? You took responsibility. And without you giving her a dime from the 5 million that she received from the Ibrahim award. Something told.
Mr. So and Mr. Wheeler. A good thing that I'm out here to be the counterweight with you guys. A screen.
No, you don't have to align me with Wheeler. So don't say Mr.
But I didn't say any. I said with both of you a screen view. Your view is so extreme that somebody can stand on it and do a diving to the water and hopefully will not be hurt. Let me
take a quick commercial break and I will be right back.
Mr. So.
Our national sister born, the USA. Matia kwa brio, unyo so wa wadea. Kwa so ba blia kwa, odwile. Bombiwa zaja bombio. Bombiwa zaja bombio. Kama abi mweke jayo se bon bombio.
Okay, we just want to take a quick commercial break. We're going to be a major fundraiser here for the National Sister Ball. They are erecting a dinner hall in your city as well, Drew. So why you want to have a problem with it? Do you think I'm trying to you think it's not
as usual? You're trying to sanction me publicly. That's okay. That's what you guys do, and you do it well. As soon as I made a statement that your view and Mr. Wheeler's view are so extreme, immediately you go to commercial to sanction me, to quiet me. But this liberal progressive, you can't contain this guy. Let me tell both of you. I was listening when you guys are going on with the bunny concept.
You coming with both of you again for commercial to come in? You coming with both of you again?
Mr. So, let me just tell you this. Let me go straight to the point. I'm not going to let you to distract me from my view. I'm not going to let you to try to derail whatever the liberal progressive have to say this afternoon. It's not working. So try another tactic, hopefully. But let me say this. Honorable, listen again. Honorable Bonnie Samakai was duly elected, and the mess the CDC government have created on the local people is shameful, and they should be ashamed of themselves. Now, Bonnie Samakai, as Minister of Defense, the money that was used, you can say missupply or misappropriation, whatever you want to call it, that's fine. But he was pretty much doing exactly what he needed to do as a subordinate to the president. The president requested, and the request was carried. Now, things that you need to know. The government of the Republic of Liberia, under this president, agreed to pay for the money. The only reason why Bonnie Samakai is being prosecuted wrongfully is because Bonnie Samakai refused to go on the CDC ticket. And the fact that he refused to go on CDC ticket caused the people who sedition, turning sedition, to go after him, which is ridiculous. And this is something that will not stay. Samakai is the duly elected senator from Lofa County, and the kind of mess you put Lofa County, you brought Lofa County into constitutional crisis that was not necessary. Basically, because of the CDC greed for power, brought the Lofa County into constitutional crisis. So, Mr. So, you can do whatever you want to do to shut me out, but it's not going to work. This dog not going to hunt anymore.
Oh, I'm getting a call from Nigeria here, but he's calling. President Yusuf is calling on video. Okay, Papa George, are you there?
Yes, can you hear me?
Loud and clear. Okay, you know something, we always allow people to express their views and their opinion, and that's why I want to encourage people, because these are very critical issues, and we want to discuss it with tolerance and high sense of responsibility. So the key question here, can President Weah turn Prince Johnson over? Is that within his purview? And if it doesn't happen, what could be the long-term political implications? Will the voters take that back? This guy is calling, but I think he tried to say something here, but he's calling on video. So, but go ahead. I will try to call him on the WhatsApp. Go ahead, Pa Joyce.
Let me say this. Before I answer that question, let me say this. We come to this debate from different angles, support and against. But I find it difficult when people say they want economic crime code. They don't want war crime code. Why you want to prosecute people for economic crime code and you don't want to prosecute people for war crime code? When these two things were together, there are people who participated in the economic crime code, economic exploitation of the country. They didn't have gun physically to shoot people, but they were exploiting the people.
Yes, sir.
They were exploiting the people.
You wanted to talk on the program? Yeah, here you go ahead.
And then you have the people who are commanding, who are in command and control, instructing other children
to
carry on massacre of people.
You want to talk on the program?
So these two things have to go concomitant, hands in hands.
Oh.
They have to go together. That is why some of us say we want the war and economic crime code. Because there were other people who are not killing people, but they were exploiting the country. There were others who were controlling and killing people. So both are doing the same thing, and that's why we're saying they both have to go together. But you can't say you don't want to prosecute people from economic crime code, then you need the war crime code. Why are you giving the war crime code? What's the people who kill people?
Okay, hold on 1 second, Pastor Joy. Let me see what this caller what they have to say from Nigeria. Yusuf, are you there? Are you there?
Yes, yes.
Good morning. I know it's in the morning time, right?
Yes, no, here is midnight.
Oh, midnight. Okay, how are you?
I'm fine.
Okay, good. What do you want to say?
I just want to greet you, sir.
Oh, okay. All right. Okay, thank you.
I'm doing work.
Huh?
I'm doing work right now.
Okay. All right. So when I get off the program, I'm going to give you a call, okay?
Okay, thanks.
Okay.
So,
okay, guys.
Just
one of our followers in Nigeria there, and so I'm not sure, even though you're watching, but yeah, go ahead, Pa George.
Yeah, so let me come to your question. Yeah, it's the D. Go and listen to President Weah's speech when he came, I think, from the UN. He stated clear that he's not talking about war crime code. It's the journalists and other citizens who are talking about it. It's not he, President Weah. The tape that I just watched the tape this evening again. He said it. That he is not talking about war crime code. It's the citizen and journalists who are talking about the war crime code.
Okay, let's put cap on the head, right?
Yeah.
Because there's no any statistic out there to know exactly how many Liberians, people talking, how many Liberians in favor and against. So my question here, will this issue of war crime, economic crime, will it cause this CDC-led government potentially of not winning the elections if they are to take on that? Do you think the electorate can turn that into a voting process come 2023? If and only if the government, maybe the federal government is not doing enough.
No, for Liberia, it's not just one thing that I would say would make CDC not to win election 2023. Because there are several factors involved now, not just war crime. You have the economic side and corruption, extrajudicial killing. They are all there. So it's not just one factor now. You can say if the government doesn't do it, they will not be elected. There are other factors that will contribute to it. But yes, on this issue here, President Weah, if he doesn't turn Prince Johnson over, we will still make the noise. If you turn him over, not just Prince Johnson. Prince Johnson is just this high-head child who jumping all around. That's why you see he have become the household name. You got the other people, the other warlords who are there. If he doesn't turn his foot in, definitely President Weah will suffer some retribution from the international community. That one I can tell you.
Do you think is that one of the reasons he's not maybe getting the kind of support here he's supposed to get? We saw why Helen Johnson lived there with Charles Taylor, and we saw volumes and tons of money coming in. Do you think it's one of the reasons Uncle Sands and other people are holding back because the government is not doing enough?
That's one of the reasons. And coupled with his own problem. Since he came to power, you are seeing alleged corruption and extrajudicial killing in Liberia. No accountability of nobody is being liable for those criminal acts that have been taken place on George Weah. So it's not just this war crime alone. It's what is happening in his government presently. That's another factor that he's not getting support from the international community as Ellen Johnson did. You know the story. Ellen Johnson.
Can I?
Yeah, we are running out of time in the next 15 to 30 minutes. We're going to be here. But go ahead, Widot, and we're going to.
Yeah. Thank you, George, for coming in. Look, you said something, and I just trying to put the pieces together. Whether whichever way the president goes on this matter, whether it will affect him, politically, I think you're right. It's going to affect the CDC chances. If we can look back at what happened during the TRC days, 56.3% of the Liberian population did not want retributive justice, right? Mm-hmm. That is, they did not want people to go to prison for what happened. They wanted us to go to Palava Hut and make peace, and people tell the story, and that was it. That's what 56.3% of the Liberian population wanted. So let's look at that. If that is something to go back, if you say, if George Weah took the lead.
Has that changed today, Widot? I say, has that changed today from that 53%? Do you think if we were to do a statistic to do it all over, do you think
it has changed? I don't think it has changed.
Okay.
What? Yeah, I don't think it has changed because look, let's look at it rationally, right? So if someone died today, the way we feel bad, right? It's going to decrease as time goes by. We often hear the saying that say time is a healer of wound, right? So if the thing was fresh in our mind, someone just died, and this person was good to us, and we feel so bad, we want to take action right now. But
is that CDC theory or just a new something just creating here?
No, it's a saying that is widely used. Yeah, it's a saying that is widely used.
All right, let's get it. Go ahead.
Time is a healer of wounds, right? So you see, if you went back to maybe 1990, whatever, 2001 or 2002, when TRC did a survey of Liberians and came out with 56.3% of Liberians going against retributive justice. And come forward to this day, I think one will assume, and we that did engineering, I think my probability, and my part that will say it, we know that the probability of people's feeling decreasing as time goes by is more likely to happen. So what we look at is that we still believe that today that will hold because people will still think that it's good that people go to prison, but what good will it do for our country? What can we do for
our country? The Liberal there.
Let me go you there. Yeah. You ask a question, what good will it do for people, our people? Here is the benefit. Mm-hmm. When your country have what they call accountability and transparency, mm-hmm. It gave outsiders the courage to invest in your country. That's one of the factors, that's one of the benefits of prosecution or accountability. That is the bedrock.
Can I ask you a question, George? Can I ask you a question? So, what investment that came into Liberia during Ellen Johnson's regime is because World Crime was established? Let us be sure in what we say here. Let us not just be in what we say.
What I'm going to do this Sunday, I'm going to put two of you in the ring.
Let me tell you now.
We're going to do a voice.
This is what people do.
I'm coming for George.
Investors invest because they will make profit. They don't invest because they want to get.
Let me see what I can neutralize the conversation we are about to go here. The Liberal there is watching Kinley. The Liberal.
Yes. I was just wondering when will LPR be truly a Liberty Party platform instead of CDC platform? Every time we come in with Professor Zaglo, and now tonight you bring us another sedition here. So this is a CDC platform. Let's just give it to you and say congratulations. I really appreciate it. So, anyhow, let's say this. I think. Are you asking for my closing statement?
No, not a closing statement. Get into the conversation. We'll soon be wrapping up. I just want you to respond to what.
Well, Mr. So, I think let me just say this again. I think Pat Josh is quite correct that the war crime code and economic code is not necessarily to punish, even though that would be the end result, but it's to build confidence in the international community that this government or whoever is running things in Liberia, that Liberians are in fact have the ability to make decisions for themselves. Because if you have this system put in place, the Liberians themselves going to decide what type of punishment that they want to apply to this system. It's coming from the Liberians. Why would you want people to invest in the country when they themselves are quite aware that you have perpetrator and the victim passing by each other every day? Is that where you want to invest your money? You want investment somewhere where you will have a handsome return. But if you're investing somewhere where people are sitting on a dynamite, a pot of cake of dynamite, I don't think you will have investor. So basically what I've been saying for the last 2-3 years is that the international community will continue to give you money, but they will not give you anything more than what you deserve. They will not give you anything more than what they would normally do for you for investment. They will only acquire you, give you money enough so that you'll be quiet in the community. That's all.
Okay.
Look, Mr. So, can I say something to that? Look,
yeah, say before we go to our final
the idea that we Liberians continue to push that we must get aid from the international community before we can feel better about ourselves, I think it's delusional. I think we need to move away from that model. It didn't work in the past, it won't work. The white man,
Mr. Willard, and when you had somebody come out and make a statement such as delusional. That is something that you can't just sit down and allow to escape. You said delusional. We have all of your hierarchy from CDC. They're here begging for handout. You said delusional. You have Special to it monthly begging the international community for handout. Delusional?
Yeah, we are.
Yes, I still stand by my word. I think it's delusional because look, it's because of our mindset. We think that the white man has to validate us before we become who we are. Even though they brain drain us, they took you from Liberia, you're an engineer, you are in their country working for them. You see, they are brain draining us, but we think that the only way we can feel good about ourselves when they validate us, that they say, yeah, you're good. And that's the thing, that's the problem we have as a continent. And that's why we'll continue to be the second to the West, because we often feel that if the president not go to Washington, that means he's not a good president. Who told you that? I see before he was bred there in Africa, Tanzania. He did not care for white. Even look, even the one that we are talking about, they don't care about the white. But for us Liberians, we have to be validated. America, you are not the president.
We don't do that. Stop right there.
Hold on.
Stop deceiving the public. Rwanda, you talk about, you didn't see Bill, you don't see Bill Gill, Clinton, and all going to Rwanda. You don't see Rwanda agents in Messi and he's selling. Stop.
Because
hold on now.
They don't go there. The people are important. That's why the people go to them. But if you don't see your own importance, those people will not go to you.
Hold on.
What happens?
Hold on, let me.
Okay, hold on, guys. This is what we're gonna do now. I know this Liberian conversation is always an endless conversation, and there's nothing guaranteed that we're going to conclude it tonight, either tomorrow. Even if I could get this microphone to the Liberal, he would talk until he reached a total time. He will still be talking. Exactly. So this is what we're gonna do. Pa George, make your comments with respect to that, and then I'm gonna give you guys one minute to wrap it up before for the night.
Let me say this: Liberia, Africa as a whole. For the inception, the founding of Africa, they had never been independent. They have always been dependent. Let me come to Liberia. What you see in Mr. Widow is a myth. Liberia cannot afford 50% of her wage bill, her budget. She cannot produce 50% of her wage bill. They depend on donors, partners, to to forego that bill. You have not done anything in your country to convince yourself or your citizen that you can afford 75% of your budget on your own. Nothing. And anybody that feeds you, they will definitely control you.
Okay.
The country that we're talking about, Liberia, you and I cannot even tell you where is the deed of that country, whether with the ACSU or the American government. You and I, you cannot tell me where the deed of Liberia is.
Also, guys, here is the final question for this evening here. I'm not sure what I should take from bottom to top or top to bottom, but I'm going to throw it out here. I will still want to be having this conversation here because I wanted to show the Revin, but I will leave it for another day. So let me ask this question here in one minute, and I want you guys to wrap up. Do we have to do this thing all over with this TRC, whatever? Do we need to go back to listen to people? Do we need to know the status of limitations of this war crime code, economic crime code? What happens to those who have committed some of these things and they are out of the country? They are in Australia, they are in Europe, they are in America right here. There was an issue with Agnes Taylor. One of the reasons the government could not afford paying $800,000, that alone. That's how there was no way they could find a prosecutor, because at the end of the day, you have to find a defense person for that. The government could not afford to pay that $800,000, and they let her go. She's in Liberia now, whatever it is. Do we need to do it all over? Was something right? Was it done? Was it done out of emotion? Do we need to come back to this conversation to give it a second thought? Wait a minute. What are we looking for? Who do we really need to hear? Are these people people are willing to come out vividly and say, yes, this is what happened to me. This is what he did to me. This is what she did to me. Do we need to come back to that conversation, or we should just push ahead as is already been done?
Mr. So let me say this. We don't need to go back to the drawing board. There are certain things happening in the country. Even World War I, World War II, the Nazi concentration camp, there were certain people who were accountable. It's not everybody. And we have said this thing here. We talk about commanders and people who have command and control over people. It's not everybody that they're talking about will go to, they want to put them in a container. No, they're talking about those who had the funds, those who were controlling, those who were commanding people. Those are the people we're talking about. Children who are incarcerated, we're not talking about those people. They are not the people, but the people who have control over them. These are the folks we are talking about.
Okay.
People must be very clear on this thing. But when people want to muddy the water, then they say, oh, the other country did it. The other country did it. What war you fought that people, a country outside did not have interest? But it's the perpetrator. That's what we are talking about.
That's our analyst, Amos Joy from Atlanta, Georgia, and from time to time, we're going to be here with us as well. And again, let's just put it out there, whether you're from ANC, you're from the People Liberation Party, PLO, or whatever it is, and a group, once you are willing to make a sacrifice and stand the heat from the audience with respect to some of your comments and conversation here, let us know. We want to bring you here. Let me bring in Widot. In 1 minute, where are we going wrong here and what we need to do?
Look, I think we are not putting our priorities right as a nation. I think there's a lot of water that's gone under the bridge. I think we need to forge ahead. I think if the livelihood of Liberians is improved exponentially, I think Liberia will be a better place to live.
Exponentially, we are getting to mathematics and to how many power?
Maybe to the 100. Yeah. So look, I think if that happens, look, one of the things that brings about the tension is the inequality in our society. Look, I'm here in Australia. I can drive any car that I want. Somebody who's sweeping can drive any car they want. So, but in Liberia, you can drive any car you want. Only those people up there. So if you see a killer is living a better life than you are living, your mind goes back to why they came there and how they got there. And that's when this tension, this sentiment comes up. I think if those who are in parliament, I don't want to name anyone specifically, if our government can turn the table around and make sure that Liberians' lives, is improved, I think we can get a better society, we can get a better country, and a better future. But here is what we are missing out on. I've listened to Alan White. I've worked for the United Nations for more than 10 years. I know what it is. I know what it is when they say you are the, you are the voice on this region. Alan White seems to believe to himself, 18 years of working in Africa, he is an expert on African policy and everything. But I think he's a little bit of a novice when it comes to our political affairs in Liberia. I think what he missed out on is that when a court is established in Liberia by our legislature, if that court is not greater than the Supreme Court. So if someone is found guilty, if Spring Johnson is found guilty by that war crime court they are talking about, he will file an appeal to the Supreme Court. Supreme Court is the highest.
Mr. So this man got more than 1 minute because he bring vote out. He got more than 1 minute.
Okay. Let me wrap up. I think people need to know the details of what they want. More often, I found that Liberians don't know what they want except you show to them. So I think those of us who are knowledgeable to the outside world, who have understood what it is that is appropriate for Liberia, we need to push an agenda on the people to make sure that we tell them exactly, even though you say this is attractive to you, but actually this is the right thing to do. And if you do this, Liberia will be a better place. I think we all can come together and push that agenda for a better Liberia instead of going and digging back the old wounds and trying to talk about Prince Johnson killed this person or George Bulley did this and George Bulley did that. I don't think that's the issue. I think all we need to do
it is an issue
to benefit everyone in Liberia.
Okay, thank you so much. The Liberal Progressive from Totan to Saxton, Sacramento. Put the nail on the head before we leave for the night.
Yeah, Mr. So, thank you very much. I think these are kinds of discussion that we need to have all the time because we all have the opinion. We all must be allowed to express ourselves freely. And again, this is our Liberian said this is a dash. Frenchman, Ivorian, people say Cato because he's a sedition. And then we have a conservative hosting the Liberian platform. So he giving him Cato and a dash and whatever you want to call it this afternoon. That's okay. That's okay. But welcome, Mr. Wheeler. I think I really will enjoy you if you join us here weekly as we come on. And to have two sedition plus the center right and the far right, and then me as a liberal, as a counterweight to all of you, I think I will enjoy myself. So it's a very wonderful, wonderful show. Let's on a very serious note, let's continue to talk about these things because the more we talk, hopefully we will find solution to our problems. Yeah. Thank you very much.
Okay, well, ladies and gentlemen, folks in Radio Land, viewers, that does it this evening. We want to thank you so much for your time, your expertise, your comments. As far as concerned, I didn't see anything that is really offensive here. People are speaking their mind, and I think it's important. What I have problem with is, like Samson says, what you're saying is this and that. Well, that's how he or she feels. And this is where it provides the room for us to sit around the table. Because when you begin to suppress my thought, my feelings, my own emotion, then I feel you just not out for us to have a conversation. Exactly. The other people will say, no, I don't see it this way. I don't see it this way. And you listen to that person and see what the person is saying and see how you can maybe reconstruct that person's ideas and bring it to you, since more or less you have something convincing. But you want to shove things in people's throat when you know the esophagus is very small, it can't take in more than what it's supposed to take. Then of course you're going to block the airwave, and that person subsequently going to lead them to death, and then you also have committed a crime. So that's why we let us keep having this sort of conversation. I just hope that some of our lawmakers, our national leaders, they open themselves as well to this platform to have this conversation. But it is so absurd and so ridiculous that they are so selective. They want to go places where people will not do a pushback or to do a follow-up of their comments, their statement, and so that's up to them. But here at LPR, we try to make information proportionate, not to disadvantage anyone with news and information. With that said, gentlemen, I want to thank you so much. The Liberal, if you surely love me as a little brother, that's Sudi either buy me one and send it. And if you send it, believe me, I'm going to come here. I'm going to amplify my voice to say, yes, this is the liberal progressive. This is Kwaku. Now the chain is on your neck.
Well, Mr. So,
let me do it this way. Maybe you in beton. No. How's that?
Mr. So, I've already, as we were talking, I was researching, and where I got this suit, they don't have size for you. You're too big.
Oh my goodness. This guy is so ridiculous. I was sent to Liberia. I got one Asian or Nigerian tailor, they will reduce it. You know, he finished finding a tactical excuse. Well, guys, we want to thank you so much, all of you. Please subscribe with our network. Again, please send your comments and your statement on some things that you want us to talk. It's open. We welcome you on board anytime, any hour. I feel free, and that's why we shouldn't scare people away. Because if you don't give people the opportunity to talk, to tell you their inner part, then things are hidden. That's why the country, it is why it is. People want to come out to talk, but they are thinking to what would be the reprisal if I say this. Okay, let's come Prince Johnson, Halaji Kroma, all of these people come to say, yeah, I care this. Do we have that temperament? Do we have that spirit of forgiveness to say, okay, peace be to you, go. Since you do it, I'm satisfied. Will we do that? All of these. Don't answer for yourself. Don't answer for that's. I'm just saying you are answering yes, but other people said no, they want to pay back. I'm just only saying this how controversial these things are, and we must be very sensitive to them. We need accountability. People must be held to responsible. But everybody, you know, I tell you the story before, right? 1975-76, GV20, the Alliance the case in Maryland. I was in a demonstration school at that time. When GV20 saw that, those days the government of Liberia using this as rare license plate.
Yeah.
Something when our car came, the investigators when they came, when they were arresting people, everybody, hey. One time we were in school, by the time we go look, they counted the district attorney, the late Morgan, James Tia, he was the superintendent, all of the big doors. By the time we go look, they start picking up other than, and people wanted to kind of reinvent the wheel. So they didn't know that the car was going to turn on his own baby. But I'm just saying this to say that we must take a deep breath. It's a very consequential issue. It is sensitive. We must respect people's views and opinion so that we understand what we really want to get ourselves into. But when people take it on the political line, then it kills the purpose of what we want to see. Gentlemen, I want to thank you so much. We're looking forward always having it. And for those of you who want to be a contributor analyst here, let us know. Let us have some.
Mr. So, may I ask Mr. Wheeler, Mr. Wheeler, do you mind if I get your information from Mr. So? Because I might want to contact you.
You time for that. You need to.
Not a problem at all.
You want to the man making an announcement. He needs to something me. So don't contact him on the Facebook. What you want to do with your sedition, your Liberty Party man?
You want to join CDC?
I want to convince him to come to see to come. I want to convince him to come to Liberty Party.
I will play your tape here tomorrow. I will play your audio here. You will see the situation I will put you in. You will never be able to.
You're not going to handle it.
He will send you the suit.
All right, guys. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Good night, folks.
To be part of this program here, and it must joy. Thank you so much. Well, folks, that does it. We want to thank you so much, and all of you for your time sharing with us here this evening. The glamorous Mrs. Slangert, welcome. I know that from the island, it was too much of work without a playmate Jack Adorbo. The glamorous was on the wheel this going weekend. Back to time. That's necessary. This Sunday, we're going to be having a special fundraiser. The group calling itself the National Sister Born Association going to be having a virtual conference right here on the Liberia Public Radio in a quest to complete the banquet hall being constructed currently in the provincial city of Grand Jita County, Republic of Liberia. So, that does it this evening. Thank you so much. By God's willing, I'm going to be back here. Have a pleasant evening. Bye-bye.